There is something heavy happening in the world right now. Not new, just louder. A kind of noise that pretends to be truth. A kind of truth that forgets it has consequences. And if you listen closely, beneath the chaos, you can hear it. People are tired, not just physically tired, but soul tired. We live in a time where society feels divided, not only by politics or beliefs, but by perception itself. Because now people don't disagree, they devalue. They don't just think differently, they rank differently. And somewhere along the way, being human stopped being enough. We are in an era of constant comparison, where success is not celebrated but weaponized, where achievement becomes pressure and failure becomes identity. So instead of community, we get competition, unhealthy competition, not the kind that pushes growth, but the kind that quietly whispers, you are not enough unless you are above someone else. And in that environment, even good people start feeling like they must prove their goodness, prove their worth, prove their kindness, prove their intelligence, prove their pain is valid enough to be seen, as if existence itself needs permission. And the humble ones, the soft hearted ones, the ones who don't fight to dominate every room, they are often misread. Not because they're weak, but because they do not mirror the ego driven language of the world. And in a world shaped by ego defense, humility can be mistaken for invisibility, or worse, something to exploit. Because narcissistic patterns in society don't always appear as individuals alone. Sometimes they appear as environments, spaces where kindness is used but not respected, where empathy is assessed but not protected. So the humble become overextended, overgiven, overlooked, until they learn a painful truth. Not everyone who receives your light will honor it. And then there is a judgment. We judge by appearance before we ever understand the intention, by clothing before character, by accent before authenticity, by image before essence. We live in a world trained to scroll before it understands, to assume before it listens, to label before it learns. But no human being is fully readable from the surface, and yet we act as if we can define a soul by a moment, a mistake, a photo, a rumor. But the deeper truth remains unchanged. Only God sees the full story. Only God sees what was carried, what was survived, what was never spoken out loud. And love, real love, true love, is often not recognized in its time, because true love does not always perform. It does not always chase attention. It does not always look exciting at first glance. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like consistency. Sometimes it looks like showing up when it is inconvenient. But in a world addicted to stimulation, steady love can be mistaken for lack of value. So people overlook what would have healed them in search of what entertains them, and later wonder why they feel empty in rooms full of attention. And then there is digital world, a space that promised connection but often delivers comparison, a place where voices can be amplified but also distorted, where humor can become cruelty and criticism can become collapse. And while not everything online is harmful, we cannot ignore the reality. Public ridicule has become normalized. People are turned into content, mistakes are turned into entertainment, pain is turned into engagement, and sometimes behind the screens, there are real human beings reading words that they were never emotionally equipped to survive. And this is where we must be honest without exaggeration. Words can uplift, but they can also break. Silence can protect, but noise can destroy. And responsibility matters because behind every username is a nervous system. Behind every post is a person who still feels. This is why so many feel unseen, unheard, and unprotected. Not because the world lacks people, but because it lacks presence, real presence, not reactive presence, not judgmental presence, but grounded listening presence. So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with a choice to continue feeding division or to begin recognizing humanity again, to compete until we exhaust each other, or to create spaces where people don't have to prove their worth just to exist, to judge from the surface or to slow down enough to see depth, to use words as weapons or to use them as bridges. Because at the center of everything, beneath ideology, beneath identity, beneath performance, there is something simple. We are all human, fragile, complex, learning, healing. And no system, no trend, no platform, no opinion can erase that truth. So maybe the real question is not just why is society divided, but also what part of this division may I participating in consciously or unconsciously? And what would happen if we chose to see people not not a competition but recognition?